so say one player starts on an elf, both players start on a mana creature. Maybe something like an early Mizium Mortars or an early Domery Rod can really turn the tide. That will let one player get to Thundermaw Hellkite before the other one. Other than that, I think it probably just comes down to, you know, that largest creature. I think cards like Thundermaw Hellkite will be very important in the matchup.
Yeah, it's tricky because neither player has access to a ton of removal. So with 29 and 30 mana sources in their decks, in all likelihood they'll both have plenty of resources to work with, and then it'll just be who has one more fatty or who has a game-winning advantage, like being able to overload a Mizium Mortars just to sweep the board, or if somehow you manage to ride a Domery Rade for a few turns. It's unlikely that Rade will live very long, but interestingly, the lower seed has won every single match in this top 8, right, all the way up to the finals.
So that would favor Jacob Tobey here.
Absolutely. We're seeing identical turn 1 plays from both players for the most part.
Yep, both play Stomping Ground into mana creature. So both at 18. We see it looks like a pair of Volcanic Strengths in Hebert's opener. So both of those main decked ones he's going to have access to.
Yeah, particularly effective against this turn 1 Stomping Ground. The question is, what to put the pants on?
Right. I mean, how aggressive is it? Are we so aggressive that, you know, it's Volcanic Strength on Elvish Mystic?
Unlikely.
Right. Okay. The Mystic's going to swing for 1. Hebert's going to go ahead and play another Stomping Ground, and then play a post-combat second Elvish Mystic.
So Tobey looks like he's got lots of good options. He's got more land. He's gonna have to take damage for it though. But he's got Flinthoof Boars. He's got Domery Rade. He's got Hell Riders.
He's got Gorklan Rampager as well.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of good options. What he doesn't have is a 4th mana though.
Right.
So he's gonna have to set his turn up in such a way to give himself the best chances for, in the event that, you know, first, what gives me the best chances if I do draw land, and what gives me the best chances if I don't. Like, those are the kind of 2 possible different games we might end up playing here.
So he's going to go ahead and shock for another Stomping Ground, and it looks like he's going to go straight for a Flinthoof Boar, give it haste, and crash in.
That's pretty aggressive for a guy who doesn't have a 4th land.
Yeah, he does have a second Flinthoof Boar, so even if he doesn't hit the land, he has another, you know, he's not going to run out of plays by any means.
Sure.
But, so both players now at 15. Hebert has the 5th mana source here.
He's going to get Thundermaw into Tuesday, right?
Well, if Hebert has a Thundermaw, it's going to be pretty hard for Tobey to answer one. And we see
it's a Hell Rider. Okay.
Hell Rider. And because Tobey's tapped out, Hebert's going to get the situation where you get to attack more than once with Hell Rider. This is a swing for 6 after the 2 points from Hell Rider.
Yeah, like it definitely seemed like it's a little bit of a hasty time to be aggressive for Tobey. Like there's just too many haste creatures that Hebert could have.
Yeah, and what I was saying about that is, you know, Hell Rider, a lot of times you play it kind of in a sense where you expect it to attack once and then die. You know, die on that attack, and usually that's worth it. The times where you get to attack multiple times with the Hell Rider could just be backbreaking.
Yeah, I think it's going to get eaten by a Domery Rade forcing a duel.
Yeah. And that's a pretty good move for Tobey there. If he hadn't made that play, we were going to see a Volcanic Strength land on Hell Rider. And that
it would have been game over instantly.
Yeah.
This turn.
Yeah, that's where you would have been a pair of Volcanic Strengths and a swing for 9. So Tobey doesn't hit the next mana source. You know, does use most of a Domery Rod and his Flinthoof Boar to take out the Hell Rider.
Now, we're probably going to see a Strangler Geist, Volcanic Strength on it, and then an Elvish Mystic attack to the Domery Rade, and 4 points of damage going to Tobey's face. What do you think?
That sounds just about right. Hebert's got he knows that he has the advantage right now. He has so much more lands, he has so much more tempo. The one thing is that if this game goes on long, Hebert's got to know that he probably has less resources.
Wait, does he have Gorklan Rampager in his hand? Because if he does, that's just game over.
No, he does Volcanic Strength, the Elvish Mystic.
Interesting.
So he's going to swing for 5. He may. I don't even think. I think he should put all 5 on Tobey. He's not even caring about Domery. Domery can only plus right now, and that's not.
And the theory is that you can put Volcanic Strength in the Strangler Geist next turn.
Right.
For 4 more anyway. So yeah.
That's
actually a very smart play. Very, very, very good play by Hebert.
So Tobey does hit the 4th land here. Gonna go ahead and plus Domery Rod. Doesn't find something. At 4 life, and with this Volcanic Strength Elvish Mystic, he's hard pressed.
All right, Scavenging Ooze. That's the one card he could have to try to do something here, but it's not going to be enough against Volcanic Strength.
Yeah, so there is that second Volcanic Strength in Hebert's hand. Scavenging Ooze does give Tobey the potential to have 6 life here. And it looks like Hebert's going to go ahead and throw that second Volcanic Strength on Strangler Geist, swinging for 7, and we are on to game 2.
Excellent play by Hebert. That was definitely a smart play. Well, as we said, both players have access to Flames of the Blood Hand, Pillar of Flame, Garruk Pyromancer. Actually, Garruk Relentless is one of the cards that Hebert had cut to make room for Fog, and so that gives one extra weapon to Tobey. Although it is all fun and games game one when you have your pre-sideboarded cards. After sideboard, now both players will have access to a full 3 volcanic strengths.
All right, so we're going to bring you back in the booth for the finals here. So this is for We Do Trivia. This is going to be for 1 year's worth of Star City Games
365 days and 6 hours of premium, right? Roughly?
About, yep.
Yeah, give or take like 2 minutes or something?
I don't think we're on a, yeah, but it's not going to be a leap year, so 365 sounds about right.
Sweet.
All right, so do you have a question for him?
I do. And it's not even about music this time.
Okay, it's about magic.
Yes.
All right.
So we discussed William Jensen quite a bit this weekend. Newly elected Hall of Fame member William Jensen, who's been on a tear. How many top 8s has he made in his last 4 SCG Opens? How many top 8s has he made in his last 4 SCG Opens, including yesterday? If you know the answer, tweet at us at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium. We're looking for the number of top 8s that newly elected Hall of Fame member William Jensen has made in his last 4 SCG Opens that he has played in. Right. Let us know, and you can get a year of premium, if everything works out.
Yep. Well, we know he made at least one. You know, he was in this top 8.
He was in this top 8. So. He was in this top 8.
All right.
That's what he does.
So if you put down 0, that's probably, so you want to have at least one for your answer.
Yeah, and we're looking for whole numbers too. Like it's
no fractions.
Pi.
Those are between 1 and 4, but not
Not gonna do it here.
All
right. We're gonna jump back into the finals. The first 6 minutes were pretty exciting. I'm looking for another 12 minutes of high intensity action.
So I would say what surprised me about that matchup is just how aggressive it is. It seems like both decks are almost just incapable of blocking. You know, we saw there Tobey kind of with this, wealth of cards. He had a mana creature into Flint Boar, and just was dead really quickly.
So, but he could have played defensively. I mean, he took shock damage. He tapped his Flinthoof Boar, he tapped his Elves, he at all points of the game he removed all of his blockers to maximize the amount of damage he could do. And with as much gas as he had in his hand, but being short on mana, it seemed like perhaps he needed to drag the game out a little bit longer. But then again, maybe he's just like, well, I'm not going to beat a Thundermaw Hellkite anyway.
Yeah, so. He was never going to be able to defend the volcanic strengths, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing he could do that game, I don't think, just because having your best sideboard card in the main deck is just.
And drawing both copies.
It's pretty good if you draw them both, right? Absolutely.
So we have to think
Plus, being on the play, big advantage.
That seemed really huge in the matchup.
Absolutely.
So we imagine both players will max out on the volcanic strengths.
To be sure.
What I was amazed at is originally I'd say, hey, okay, when you're playing stuff like Thundermaw Hellkite, I would love to have Zealous conscripts in this matchup, but I'm wondering if you can really side in 5 drops here. Tobey was dead before 5 mana really hit.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I still don't mind it just because that's a pretty big life swing if you steal a Thundermaw Hellkite. But you got a lot of other things you got to do too, and you can't afford to be too slow. And first you need to have cards like Flames of the Firebrand and Pillar of Flame.
So you like Flames in the matchup. Flames hits mana creatures. It hits a Scavenging Ooze that was just played.
Or a Strangleroot Geist, very importantly.
Do you want to hit the front half of a Strangleroot Geist with the Flames?
Oh, you're talking about Flames of the Firebrand. I thought you were talking Pillar of Flame.
Oh yeah, no, Flames of the Firebrand.
Oh, sometimes. I mean, it depends. Sometimes you just hit the back half for 2. Right. You're hitting an Arborel for 1 and the Flames for 2.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely seems good to be able to hit the second half of 1.
And it's one of the few ways to actually do things like remove some of these mana creatures. Now that said, it's not terribly mana efficient, but in my experience, Kibler has never not wanted to Arc Lightning somebody else's mana creature. I mean, he was playing Simoon back in the day.
Okay, that's what, 1 damage to each green?
No, 1 damage to each of your opponent's creatures. It's red and a green.
Okay.
I think his one big regret from the tournament was that he didn't play 4 Simoons.
Oh, okay.
Kibler is a guy who appreciates a mana creature and
appreciates his opponents not having a mana creature.
No kidding. Yeah, it's like having Moxes. Like, you just get to have more mana than your opponent. It's not even fair. I mean, Kibler will settle for a card like Farseek and tell you to put it in every single deck if you don't have access to nice things like Elves. Smart.
Yeah. So we have seen, in these decks they're running a full 6 mana creatures. We actually have seen in Standard some decks run up to as many as 12 1-mana creatures in the Elf decks.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen Zvi build decks that have, 36 mana creatures, 4 Genesis waves and 20 land or something, or 24 land.
That's just the whole deck.
Yeah, it's nothing but Genesis waves and creatures that make mana, all the way up to Primeval Titan. Oracle, like when your big creatures are Oracle of Modiah and Primeval Titan.
Sure, there's literally still more lands.
Everything just makes more mana. It's interesting. William Jensen, we talked about how he played Jund in this event. There was an earlier tournament where when M14 just came out, where Jensen actually played a caller of a Garruk caller.
Yeah.
Beast caller of the Beasts.
That was the Standard Open in Somerset. He actually, I believe, made the finals with there was that mono green. Well, it's actually green white, but mostly touch of white. Mostly green elf deck.
Yeah, designed by Zvi actually. Reaching the finals, correct? Yep. What's interesting is both Chandra and Garruk, not just 1 month into M14's life, both making the top tables of big tournaments.
Yeah, pretty good showing for the new Planeswalkers out of M14.
Figure 4th time's the charm on Chandra, right?
Right. What was it? Yeah, we have Chandra Nalar, Ablaze. Yeah, not too many.
Yeah, and the 4th one, the one from
the one that doubles spells.
Yes. All right, so we've got Rootbound Crag as a response to Forest and Arbor Elf.
All right, so Tobey not only on the play, but he actually is the only one with a mana creature. He's going to have a pretty good advantage at the beginning.
A huge advantage. Plus now he's got a turn 2 Domray.
Yep.
I think he's just in a commanding position this game.
Right, and it's interesting that we can say commanding position as early as turn 2. That really speaks to the speed of this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, he's effectively already he's 3 turns ahead now.
Well, the Domri misses.
Okay, back to 2.
Yeah, Hebert is able to Pillar of Flame that Arbor Elf, so he, right now the boards are pretty equal except for the Domri Rod.
Well, and Tobey isn't land ahead. Like, he hasn't played his land for the turn yet, but he is both a land ahead and just has a powerful Planeswalker in play up to 5 loyalty.
So for the second turn, the Domri Rod does miss, so all Tobey's able to do is play a 3rd land and play Arbor Elf. What'll be interesting to see here is whether or not Hebert, what his land situation is. He has played Rootbound Crags both turns as opposed to a basic or a fetch land.
Part of it is he just doesn't have any spells to play. If you see his hand, he's got 4 more land in it.
Okay.
So I think he's acting like he's low on mana, but he's actually just got lands for days.
So the first creature on Hebert's side is Scavenging Ooze. He leaves up that 3rd green mana to potentially eat the Arbor Elf. No, sorry, Arbor Elf was pillared, so it's actually not in the yard.
Right.
4th land from Jacob Tobey. It's going to play a Gorklan Rampager.
Wow, it's probably going to fight with, Damirati arranges a fight between Scavenging Ooze and Gorklan Rampager. Arbor Elf gets in there. Now at this point, Tobey is effectively 4 turns ahead of Hebert. I mean, there's very little that Hebert is going to be able to do.
It's interesting because when I was thinking of all the plays he could have made there on 4 or 5 mana, like Gorklan Rampager is probably the least scary. It's less scary certainly than a Thundermaw Hellkite, than a Howl Rider, but even so, it's still amazing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like, even without the Gorklan Rampager, he was just so far behind to begin with, and now he's just getting further and further behind.
It's almost like on the draw, you just have to have a mana creature. Otherwise, Hebert's hand, had a 1 mana kill spell, had a 2 mana
threat. He couldn't play it on turn 1. This game would have been a very different game if he would have had a stopping ground to be able to play on turn 1. Okay. Then he could have prevented the Domray from coming down on turn 2, and he would have made it all the way to turn 3 without being more than just 1 turn behind.
So maybe you need to have on the draw that turn 1 spell, whether it's a pillar, whether it's a mana creature, just you need to do something.
Yeah, I think that this may have just been too slow of a draw.
And we see no play, 4th land, but no play from Hebert.
Yeah, it's just getting worse and worse.
All right, Domri for the 3rd time, and so Tobey's actually 0 for 3 on hitting with Domri pluses, but it hasn't really mattered. He's still kept a commanding lead.
Well, he has both the Domri and 1 less creature on Hebert's side of the table.
All right, so we see a swing for 5, and then just a second Gore-Clan Rampager made from Tobey. Now with 9 power on his side of the board to no creatures for Hebert.
These Dragon Master Red-Green decks are not built to play from behind.
Right, we see a Volcanic Strength drawn from Hebert. Not really helpful when you're behind, not really helpful when you don't have a creature.
Yeah, I think we're going to be on our way to a quick game 3 very, very shortly. I mean, Hebert's got Hell Rider, which would just get eaten by a Gore-Clan Rampager. He's got quite a bit of land, Volcanic Strength, as we mentioned. It looks like just 2, is that, and then what's the green card?
I believe it's a Strangleroot Geist,
Yeah.
but I'm not positive.
Well, given that it's in his deck, it's not going to help him here.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of trampling damage on the other side of the board. Hebert's.
Now, do you suppose he plays Strangleroot Geist and then Volcanic Strengths it up?
So just
because
to have it, so it could possibly trade.
Well, a guy big enough so that if it fights, it at least...
Yeah, if he has the Geist, I think we're gonna he's gonna want to make some sort of progress, so some sort of trade. But even then, you know, he's only at 14 right now, which is kind of a funny thing to say. But when he's facing down 9 damage, you know, that is a 2-turn clock. So we see a 5th land. That's gonna be a forest. He's going to. It looks like he has a Thundermaw Hellkite, which is usually good in this matchup. But once again, all the cards a lot worse from behind than they are when you're ahead.
At least he can take out the Damirati if he wants. No, he has to block.
Yeah.
An unfortunate position to be in, to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, with that swing there, he'd put himself down to 5 life. So he's going to go ahead and instead opt for the blockers. And we see blocking will not happen, though, as Tobey puts a Volcanic Strength on Gore-Clan Rampager. And this is just brutal. Going to fight it with the Thundermaw Hellkite.
Yeah, and then go 11 to the face. I mean, this one is...
Puts Hebert down to 3.
Every turn when it looks like it could not get more of a brutalizing. It is...
And does he Miracle Bonfire? That wouldn't even help, actually.
No,
I was thinking, yeah, Miracling a Bonfire. I was like, no, wait, there's a Volcanic Strength on here.
So what's the plan here? You play Hell Rider, attack, kill Damirati, then cast Fog.
Yep.
Untap, play another Hell Rider, then cast Fog. Untap, then play another Hell Rider, then play Fog, right?
That would work, right? Because then you have triple triggers on your Hell Riders.
Yeah. So we go to game 3. In game 3, Hebert will be on the play. And as we've seen, it has been absolutely just very
being
important.
on the play has been really important.
Yeah. Now, of course, both players with a better draw have happened to be on the play. Anyway, I think you do have to keep a good hand, particularly if you're on the draw. You have to have your standard has to be a little bit different. You have to be willing to mulligan to try to get something fast enough to be able to compete, because you're not blocking.
Yeah. So I want to look back at Hebert's sideboard for a second here. What I've noticed in these games is that they've been extraordinarily fast and really hard to come back from. We talked about the possibility that Hebert had boarded in Fog to try to, you know, win from an equal or maybe behind board state. What do you think about possibly him siding in Bonfire of the Damned? Even though it doesn't really, okay, drawing one's terrible here, but, you know, because you don't really want to pay 3 mana to answer a mana creature. But when you do think about board states, like the one we saw last game, and I was thinking, okay, how can he possibly recover? You know, Bonfire is like one of the few cards that can recover from those situations.
Yeah, but he is on the play this time. So
Okay.
I think he just wants to maximize his chances of pressing his advantage, which may include a Bonfire also. It may, like, Bonfire to kill mana creatures gets much better when you're on the play, because you could potentially go land, elf, turn 2, Bonfire for 1.
Right, and that's
as a
great
time
to
walk,
take
right.
their mana elf.
Absolutely. So I think if he wants to bring it in, I think it's mostly because of the possibility of the time walk. But I think that the most important thing is making sure that he is able to present as fast and reliable of a clock as possible. Because as long as he's being proactive, being on the play is just incredibly important in this matchup.
It does seem like between the Volcanic Strength and Chandra Pyre, if he's boarding in Chandra and, you know, that pillar, he wants to make sure he still has this certain density of creatures. We saw last game it appeared that he had more spells than creatures. He actually wasn't, you know, he had Volcanic Strength, he never got to cast, so he didn't have anything to cast it on. You know, it seems like there's only so many non-creature slots you have to work with.
Yeah, and when you get a little bit flooded, those problems become exacerbated. Meanwhile, on Tobey's side, just playing good old-fashioned Dragon Master Red-Green. No real divergences beyond the Gruul Guildgate phrase over the Kessig Wolf run for a slightly more consistent mana base. You know, just a tiny little bit less power tiny little bit more consistency.
Do you change your sideboarding plan when you know you're going to be on the draw? It's both
Absolutely.
games. Both games we've just seen that the person on the play has been at such a huge advantage. So if you're Tobey here, how do you change your strategy? Knowing that you're going to be playing from behind.
Well, first of all, if you didn't already have the removal probably gets a little bit better. But beyond that, I mean, you don't. If you wanted the conscript game 1, or if you wanted the conscript in game 2, I don't think you want it in game 3.
Just because the conscript's a lot better from when you're ahead.
It's slow and it's not a great way to block. And I think you do have to plan on playing some amount of defense. It's possible you're just supposed to be like, I'm going to be as offensive as possible. I know I'm a big dog, and hopefully he stumbles a little bit and I just punish him for it. But I think more realistically, you may have to do some amount of interacting. I think that the more important play though is to just mulligan much more aggressively on the draw than on the play, because you cannot afford to have a slow draw in this matchup on the draw.
Yeah, we saw there, Rouger's turn 1 play was Rootbound Crag tapped, and as soon as turn 2, you were saying that this game is really almost over.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting, like when you're on the draw, you're starting a turn behind anyway, and so if you take turn 1 off to do nothing, and turn 2 you spend to kill their turn 1 play, you're just so far behind at that point. Particularly if they happen to have a 3-drop, and Domri is the best possible 3-drop for him in that spot. Flintoff 4 would have also been really good, but
it's interesting. So Domri Rod was, so we saw from Tobey, his 3-drop was Domri, which missed all 3 times, and we saw his 4-drops.
But it fought multiple times. Like,
sure,
it arranged a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, I think the one I'm trying to make the point of. So we saw Domri, which was over 300 hitting. We saw his 4-drop was just 4/4 tramples. No Hell Riders, no Thundermaws, and still just overwhelmingly enough. It's just, if you get that far ahead, it almost doesn't even matter what you're playing. It seems like every spell would have been, almost lights out.
Yeah. It's like how many clicks a tempo can you get ahead of the person, and if you can get to a spot where things like Thundermaw Hellkite aren't even, when Thundermaw Hellkite has to stay home, it is a tough spot to be in. All right, so we are right about to go to the finals, or to the final game. Make sure to stay tuned afterwards to find out who's getting that 1-year premium.
They put a Brian Kibler token there in the middle of the table.
Are they fighting for ante? Is that the prize? Nice. Yeah, I mean, with 4 people in the top 8, and now a finals being decided between 2 Dragon Master Red Greens, there's an awful lot of people blaming Kibler this weekend.
Yeah, I would certainly say so.
Oh, we just got word from our spotter on the floor. Tobey says he is channeling Kibler. He is channeling the power of Kibler. It wasn't even just between the 2 of them. He's just making it clear that Kibler's on his side of
his side of the board.
Yeah, which is, he's gonna need it if he's well, I mean, being on the play is a pretty big advantage, but having the Dragon Master on your side might be an even bigger one.
Yeah, that could certainly compensate for being on the draw.
Little known Brian Kibler fact for those of you following at home: Brian Kibler was an excellent wrestler in his before he was just dominating the Magic circuit. He was actually a competitive wrestler.
That's interesting. So like at the high school level or the college level?
WWF.
Oh, WWF.
No, in school, yeah. But you should see it every once in a while. It's usually not unless it's like late on a Saturday night when people, or Sunday night after a pro tour and people are going out celebrating, like after one of his wins or something. But every once in a while, you'll be out at the bar, maybe people get a little bit rowdy.
Just takes them down.
Well, no. Things start to go a little sour, and you find out real quick, like the local thugs are like, "Ugh," and you find out real quick which of the Magic players used to be, competitive fighters and wrestlers, and which of the Magic players were a little bit more not competitive fighters.
So you say that plural, like there are many Magic players who are competitive fighters and wrestlers.
You would be surprised, my friend. All right, so we're going to game 3. We've got 2 red-green decks, both looking to have good curves coming out. I mean, is there anything as important as having a green source untapped and a mana creature on turn 1 if you're on the play?
I mean, I would say no. You want to make sure you have a 1-drop. Pillar of Flame, I suppose, is good, but no, the mana creature just seems like
And you can't
the
mulligan
best.
every hand that doesn't have it though, because I mean, there's
You
only
only have
6,
6, right?
But if you don't have it, you're gonna need to have a good turn 2 plan.
Let's see.
And this is a deck that can mulligan well. It doesn't need all its cards. Like we've seen lots and lots of games, it just ends up with cards in its hand and never gets to use.
Yeah, it doesn't have time to cast them all.
Yeah, it's more important to have a good draw than to have a quantity of draws.
You see Hebert keeping on 7,
Uh-oh. That was a snap keep.
and
Tobey wisely
not.
taking a mulligan. He doesn't see a hand fast enough, decides, you know what? It's a mathematical mulligan.
right.
That's my favorite kind. I always love that when people justify their decisions to either keep or mulligan by it's a mathematical keep or it's a mathematical mulligan.
Okay, so describe to me what you mean by a mathematical mulligan.
I don't think they could.
Okay.
A mathematical.
What you think that?
I think a mathematical keep is like it's when now it's supposed to be when it's one of those things where you don't know if you're supposed to keep it or not until you do the math in your head about what it is you need to draw. You're like, okay, I think I'll have at least a 67% chance of winning the game if I draw a land by turn 2. I've got 2
And the
draw
odds
phases.
of me
What are the
doing
odds?
this are this. It's
Right,
like you
and-
do an
and
EV calculation.
Right, and you compare that to, I think the odds of, if I mulligan from this position, I think my odds of winning are about 41% or whatever.
Right.
And so you're like, okay, what
That's
are the
actually
odds?
really similar to how that's a way that I approach mulligans a lot.
So that's supposed to be a mathematical keep. Really, the way that mathematical keeps work is that that Luis Scott Vargas looks at his opening hand containing 2 black creatures, a Boros card, a Simic Guildgate, and and one other and a mountain, and says it's a mathematical keep.
Okay.
Just because it's just to taunt people that are slightly tighter.
I mean, I think even with what you're describing, when you go through contingencies, you think how likely you are to win in each contingency, and then the odds of that happens. There's still a lot of personal bias in that, because the number there, and you say, how likely am I to win if I draw this? That still is something that people are doing a lot by feel at that point. To actually mathematically map out what are my odds to win if I draw this second red source. That's a large enough calculation that you're really doing it by feel.
Yeah, and you know what? The hell with math. This is Magic the Gathering, not
Plenty of
Mathic
math in
the
Magic.
Gathering.
All right, so we see Tobey keeping on 6 very quickly, and the mana creature looks like it's going to go Tobey's side. He has an Elvish Mystic on
Interesting.
turn
So
1.
Hebert even snaps off a hand with no turn 1 plays. So I'm guessing that we're going to see a pretty aggressive turn 2 and 3 to compensate. But Tobey doing the best thing he can. He has played an Elvish Mystic, bringing him basically up to parity.
Yep.
Strangergeist taking another little bit of an advantage for Hebert, but depending on what Tobey plays this turn, he could actually, be slightly ahead.
Yeah, it looks like Hebert's kept a hand with a fairly land-heavy hand. Tobey, to make his red man here, is going to have to play Stomping Ground. That drops him down to 16. But now it looks like he has the option between a lot of different cards. He has a Domri Rod and a Flinthoof Boar available to him here.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're seeing a Flinthoof Boar and it attacking. Because at this point, he's ahead on mana. He can push his advantage. He's even got Volcanic Strength. Oh, wow. He decides not to attack just because he's got another mana creature. That's even better.
Yeah, so what that allows him to do is if he has a 5th land, next turn he can make Domri Rod and another Flinthoof Boar, so he can just continue, he can flood the board as fast as possible.
Absolutely. These mana creatures are just huge, but this is one of those places where if Flames of the Firebrand comes down, it's going to be real rough for Tobey. I actually wonder if Hebert attacked with a Strangergeist, do you even block? I mean, I think you have to, but then, oh no. If he actually has Flames of the Firebrand, this is going to be...
Alright, so we have...
Yeah, if he has Flames of the Firebrand, you're
So
just
that block is
cold
going to
anyway.
happen. He's going to go ahead and Gore-Clan
Yep.
Rampager.
It is Gore-Clan Rampager, which means 7, let's see, so that's
3 tramples
3
over.
trample, making him at 16? No,
Down to 13. Yeah, he actually has taken... He took 2 off the Strangergeist and 2
Right.
off his own Shockland. So now he's down to 13 on that swing.
Yeah, I don't love blocking in this matchup anyway, but it's just so hard to have it ever work out well.
Right.
However, Tobey, with 2 mana creatures, has a sizable mana advantage.
Alright, so he's going to go with Scavenging Ooze here. And right now we have just 1 creature in the graveyard, but that does help in the situation. It certainly helps deal with Strangleroot Geist.
Yeah, I think you got to keep all your mana untapped if you're Tobey. You're going to use 2 of it to eat the 2 creatures in the graveyard already, but you want to have the 3rd one ready to threaten the Strangleroot.
Right.
Plus, the extra point of damage doesn't mean nearly as much as just perhaps, you know, like if something happens to one of your blockers, if you get Flames of the Firebranded or whatever, it'd be nice to just be able to make 1 more counter this turn.
What's interesting with Scavenging Ooze in this matchup is that outside of a channeled Gore-Clan or Blood-Rusted Gore-Clan Rampager, it's really hard for either deck to actually remove a Scavenging Ooze once it hits the 4/4 size.
Yeah, I mean at that point, well, 4/4 it can still be mortars, but once it gets up to 5, then you're stuck pretty much just using Domre Rade or Chandra Pyromancer to remove it as a blocker, or trying to go over the top with the Gore-Clan Rampager, as you said.
We see, as you said there, then the Mizium Mortars on Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, we're still going to see a quick 2-life though.
Yep, Tobey's going to go ahead and get both creatures there, moving himself back up to 15, but Scavenging Ooze still hits the bin. And Tobey looks like running out of threats. I believe his final 2 cards are a Domri and a Volcanic Strength. So right now he doesn't actually have a quality target for those.
Nope. Gonna have to see Domre Rade and have it hit, but Hebert knows he's down on mana. However, he does have better threats.
Yep.
So this is definitely a game that could go either way. Although Hebert does have the advantage right now.
Yeah, so you see Hebert there swings with Strangleroot Geist, putting Tobey down to 13, and then uses his remaining mana to make a Flinthoof Boar.
No, Gore-Clan Rampager.
All right, so Gore-Clan now gives Tobey the largest creature on the battlefield.
But just 1 more land. As soon as Hebert finds his 5th land, he's got that Thundermaw waiting in the wings.
Yeah, this turn his draw was a Flinthoof Boar, so he's not there yet. I believe it looks like he also has a Hellrider.
Yep. Is this going to be one of those times where you see just Hellrider go? Or do you think he sends with a Strangleroot?
I mean, you might send Strangleroot in that situation. I mean, I think it's either Hellrider go or Hellrider send Strangleroot.
Yeah. Either way, he's got to set up like what gives him the better turn next turn. If, like, for instance, if he draws the 5th land so that he has Thundermaw Hellkite, then if he has everybody in play.
So it's Hellrider go. What this does is it puts a lot of pressure, even though Tobey can do things like play a Volcanic Strength on.
It's going to be Domre Rade for sure, right? Like Gore-Clan Rampager's got to eat the Hellrider.
Yeah, he can't leave the Hellrider in play, because if the Hellrider's in play, basically Tobey just can't attack. There's too much damage facing down on the other side of the board.
Yeah, and he, like a 2nd Hellrider makes, could be potentially just devastating.
All right, so all the cards in his hand out. Tobey's going to go ahead and Volcanic Strength the Gore-Clan Rampager. He plays Domri Rod. Domri will make the Gore-Clan Rampager fight the Hellrider. And looks like he's going to go ahead and crash. Now he's debating whether or not he wants to swing in for 6 here.
Yeah, because if he doesn't swing, then he can actually threaten to eat the Flinthoof Boar on defense and has Domri Rade protected.
Right, and he's going to go ahead and do that. He's going to
play the
control
control
as a blocker.
Red-green control, baby.
Does Hebert hit that 5th land? He has drawn Fog.
Ooh. See, Fog is a cruel mistress. This is the price you pay when you play these situational cards.
Sometimes you draw it, and sometimes it's not good. Hebert, right now, without a good attack, he still doesn't have that Thundermaw. And actually, he's in this precarious spot where, well, when he plays Thundermaw, the first Thundermaw may have to just attack down Domri Rod. Otherwise, it's going to get killed by Gore-Clan Rampager.
Yep. A commanding position by Tobey. I mean, at this point, what's a guy to do?
Well,
how's he going to get out of this?
Well, he still can cast Thundermaw next turn, and if he draws the land for it, and that still could be enough. Remember, it does have the life point advantage right now.
So what do you think about Gore-Clan Rampager? Is there some chance that Gore-Clan Rampager is going to make next turn exciting for Hebert if he draws one?
So the idea being he can just swing
kill the. I mean, his dream is to get rid of that Volcanic Strength Gore-Clan Rampager.
Exactly.
Somehow. And that's probably the most effective way he has to do that, right?
It's to use his own Gore-Clan. Yeah, if he draws his own Gore-Clan Rampager, he can really force Tobey into blocking. Tobey's life total is low enough where he can't just take damage. You see Flinthoof Boar from Hebert.
Oh, this is exciting.
Under 4th haste. He's going to go
Yes.
ahead. All right, he's just going to crash in.
Exciting.
I like this play a lot, actually. It means he's really playing into the chance that he draws that 5th land. So he attacks. Actually, he attacked Domery Rod with all of those. So not
Wait,
Tobey.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, because if you would have attacked with, at least
You could
Tobey
put
would be
Tobey
at
to
8,
eight.
which gives him outs. But,
Yeah.
because then you could potentially kill him with it. I guess he wants to make sure that the Domery Rod is off the table so that Thundermaw
Yeah,
Hellkite
right.
can actually potentially win.
Yeah, I think he wants to get rid of that possibility for Domery to make the 2 fight.
Well, definitely a good spot for Tobey. Do you think at this point he can start attacking? I mean,
Well,
he needs the Gore Clan to
know,
block with, right?
Yeah, that's it. And this is why I like Hebert's line, is that if he wants this to be a more drawn-out game, well, he doesn't want to have Domery stick around, because Domery will draw Tobey extra cards. And, well, even though Tobey has the best creature around here, you're right that it's not certain that Tobey actually can attack with it. But he's going to go ahead and all in on it. 2nd Volcanic Strength
There's
on
8.
Gore Clan Rampager.
I wonder, do you think, is it possible that you want to put Volcanic Strength
on a mana creature. I was thinking the same thing.
But this way, he's got
This is a
Hebert
fast
on a very
clock.
short clock.
If Hebert doesn't draw that land for Thundermaw, he's not going to win the race anymore.
I wonder about not attacking with the 2 mana creatures too. Put him at 10.
Yeah.
Make it, threaten lethal next turn. Make him keep somebody home. That seems like a more
yeah.
effective blocker than keeping the guys home. But
Well, it looks like the land hasn't been drawn by Hebert. Remember that Hebert does have that fog?
Yeah,
And
I
because
know.
Tobey's chosen this line now, I think the fog is going to be pretty good here.
I mean, this is, if Hebert actually has the Thundermaw soon, it's possible that we see fog turn into a time walk.
Yeah, well, fog at least is going to be 1 green, gain 8. Which
This is an
decent.
exciting little match here. I mean, it's obviously. Oh,
And there's our 5th land.
He's got the 5th land. Doesn't even cost him life.
So he has to wonder can he Thundermaw this turn, or does he have to leave up fog? If he Thundermaws, he's going to lose to something like a Gore Clan Rampager.
I think you have to Thundermaw. I mean, how are you winning this game?
All right, he's going to go ahead for Thundermaw Hellkite.
Besides, like, wouldn't Tobey have just played the Gore Clan Rampager on defense if he had it?
I would think so.
So
No, I mean, Tobey has no cards in hand, so he knows that, we're talking about a Gore Clan being on top of the deck.
Okay, sure.
So Hebert wants to make sure, I think he wants to make sure that this is a 2-turn clock. So he can, my guess that he swings the team, though that does leave him, Pillar of Flame could kill him at that point if he does.
So if he swings with the team, like I said, I don't even like blocking the Geist and the Boar.
You like just blocking nothing.
Well, I like blocking the Boar, just the Boar. If he
Okay,
swings.
so you don't want to give him a blocker.
Yes, I don't want to give him a blocker, and I want taking 2 damage is better than taking 3, because like the Thundermaw is going to do 5, and the Stringer Geist doing 2 is
Still only 6.
right. Well, so I'm saying next turn.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And we see a Howl Rider
well,
as the draw for
and
Jacob
so
Tobey.
I guess
and that's
the turn.
going to be lethal. That's going to be 4 damage on the attack, 8 damage from the unblocked Gore Clan Rampager.
Looks like it actually needed the fog.
And
No, I don't
that
think he
will
could've
do
turned
it.
around from that spot.
Jacob Tobey,
Exciting match.
2-1, defeats Ruger Hebert and becomes our Star City Standard Open champion.
Yeah, a very exciting match. Wow. All right, Dragon Master Red Green on the weekend defeating Dragon Master Red Green.
And so Hebert actually dies there with the fog in his hand. I think as we both said, he had to make the Thundermaw play there. There are a couple draws we said Gore Clan Rampager and I guess Howl Rider would both kill him.
Yeah, I mean a lot of
a
things.
lot of things do.
A lot of things would kill him, but like, you gotta give yourself the best chance you actually can to win the match.
Yeah.
None of this, Monday morning quarterbacking. Like, gotta just make the best decision.
I suppose he also loses to a Thundermaw on that board.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, there's plenty of things that it could have been, right? Like, Gore Clan Rampager as well, as we mentioned, or Zell's Conscript. But either way, Jacob Tobey, SCG Salt Lake City, Saturday champion.